ויצנר, שהוא פרופסור מקליבלנד, אוהיו. הוא משרת בבית חולים לילדים על שם Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital. פרופסור ויסניצר הוא אישיות מאוד מכובדת. הוא תרם המון ל-Child Neurology Society, הוא איש מאוד מאוד אקטיבי בתחום הזה, אני מכיר אותו באופן אישי משנים, שמעתי אותו, ואני יכול להגיד לכם שיש לו חלק חשוב גם בעזרה בבניית ה-DSM-5 שיבוא עלינו לטובה. יש לו הרבה מה לספר לנו, בעיקר על טיפולים קונבנציונליים ולא קונבנציונליים שמאוד מאוד פורחים בזמן האחרון, ואני חושב שהוא יאיר לנו קצת את עינינו.
Thank you for having me here today. I'm going to make it easy on the audience. I'm going to speak in English rather than in Hebrew. Because if I spoke in Hebrew, yes, and I would continue to be corrected as my cousin does all the time, telling me I'm not doing the grammar correctly. I think some languages are easy, but in Hebrew we have many grammatical states that you have to be in. I'm going to be talking today about complementary and alternative treatments. And I'll explain in about a minute or two why we are doing this. Let me explain what a complementary and alternative treatment is. This is from a statement that was made by a committee. That what it is choices of treatments that encompass all health systems. They encompass the whole range of medicine. And encompass many different beliefs, not all of which have proof to them. And those also include what's relevant or what's appropriate to the culture. So you may get a treatment in one social group that is different than a treatment in a different social group. And it also may change over time. Let me give you an example of something that used to be complementary and alternative, but in my mind, it no longer is. The use of melatonin for the treatment of sleep disturbances. We now have enough good research in children, for instance with ADHD, in children with autism, in children with certain types of sleep disturbances, that in my mind, melatonin has changed from being a complementary treatment or an alternative treatment to being something within the main line of therapy. Although I still have colleagues who talk about it as CAM, and I use CAM as a shorthand for complementary and alternative treatments. The definition, an alternative treatment is a treatment that we use instead of regular medical treatment. An example, I have sartan, cancer, God forbid. And instead of pursuing the typical chemotherapy, I'm going to pursue other treatments like vitamins and diet instead of that. That would be considered to be an alternative. However, if with sartan I do chemotherapy, in addition I do diet and vitamins, the diet and vitamins is then a complementary treatment, something that's being done in addition to the traditional medical treatment. Why is this important to differentiate? Because in autism, we see this being used quite frequently. And one of the things that we have to be careful with CAM and autism is the claims that people make. It is simple, it is easy to make a statement that something works. It's more difficult to prove it. In America, we have infomercials. I don't know if you folks know what infomercials are. Late at night on television, when no one's watching, except for people who can't sleep. They have commercials. You know, everyone knows what commercials are? Yes. That last 30 minutes, 60 minutes for products. This product is going to clean your bowel. This product is going to make you rich. This product is going to make your cooking more easy. And there's people who get on there who say, this is wonderful, it's changed my life. I don't believe what they say, because if they didn't say that, they wouldn't be put on there. Some of the products are good, some of them are not. The problem is telling the difference between what's good and what isn't. I'll explain that in a little bit. So what happens in CAM, people make claims it makes a miracle cure. It's a nes gadol haya. I hear this. And what is the nes based on? It's not based on research or science, it's based on people telling their own stories. My next slide will give you reasons why that may happen. Sometimes they'll say we have no time to do good research because we have to save brains and save lives. That's not good, because all that may not do is, it may not help at all. Maybe it is helping, maybe it's not, but that's not the way to do it. And many times it's also based on an idea that does not have a good scientific foundation. The problem is you have to know the science in order to understand that the idea makes no sense. If you don't know the science, it sounds really good, especially if told to you by someone who is a very good salesman. My cousin last week went and bought a refrigerator at one of the stores in the Jerusalem Mall. I understand Hebrew well enough that I listened to the salesman, and afterwards I said to my cousin, he is very good at selling things to you. But my cousin knew the questions to ask, negotiated the price, and made it lower than it otherwise would have been. He was telling all these stories of, we need this money, and we're going to do this. And it's not enough for the sale. You need to ask questions. You need to ask questions. I'll get to my next slide. Why is CAM popular? CAM is popular because people say it's natural. It's natural. That must be better than the medicines we use. But many of our medicines come from nature too. People just don't know that. You're treating autism. It's a chronic problem. We don't necessarily know the exact reason why, so they give you reasons and say that we can fix it. I myself have cured autism. I've cured it because the child never had it. I can cure anything that wasn't there to start with. It's very simple to do. Information is available on the internet. If you Google autism, and you can find all sorts of treatments that people offer. People then do a treatment and say that because the child got better after the treatment must have done it. That's not good, because the child may have gotten better anyway in that regard. And one of the important things is that it helps families get some control in helping their children. There are some treatments I'm going to talk about that are considered to be CAM that I think are very good. So you'll understand that. Reasons we have, at least 1/3 to 1/2. That's a lot of people, 30 to 50% at least of families have used some sort of CAM, and that's beyond melatonin. Majority say that they thought there was some benefit, but most of them say kitzat. To me, kitzat is like being a kitzat pregnant. You either are or you're not. Now, for those of you who've ever been pregnant, was it really kitzat? No. It was obvious. So when you look for a response to a CAM, it should be an obvious, not kitzat. And families say, when I ask families to say, we didn't tell the Rafei Yeladim. Why didn't we tell the Rafei Yeladim? We thought he wouldn't approve. We thought he doesn't know anything about CAM, which, by the way, is probably true. I think many Rafei Yeladim don't know a lot about what CAM is about. Because the doctor did not ask, what are you doing for your child? Or the family says, it's not his business. It's not her business. We don't have to tell them. It's what we want to do. That's not smart, because some of the CAM may interact with other medicines that are being given. And you may get bad effects because of that. Now, let's assume that CAM actually works. This is the most important slide. Everything else, go back to sleep. Assume that CAM works. It's not enough to say it was the CAM that did it. There's different reasons, and we always have to keep these in our mind. Number one, The CAM actually addressed the autism. They actually improved the autism itself. That's possibility number one. Possibility number two, the CAM took care of a condition that occurs with autism, like Dr. Ashkenazi was talking. If you have ADHD with autism, and if you improve the ADHD, the autism may not be as severe. Number three, the CAM is addressing something that the autism actually makes worse. So for instance, children with autism may not eat well. They have very selective eating. They only may eat 3 things, 4 things, 5 things. Because of that, their diet may not be good, and their nutrition may not be good, and they may not get enough vitamins in, they may not get enough protein in. We know that that happens. If you put them on CAM, you may fix their nutrition, but not their autism, but because they're getting better, people claim it's the autism. Now, other one, CAM may address something that's not associated. Perhaps I have diarrhea. You know diarrhea? Okay, good. Everyone now knows what it is. I have diarrhea because I drink too much juice, too much meats. Whether it's apple juice or grape juice, meats anavim, I know that. Or orange juice, or mine, or whatever it is. If you drink a lot of meats, your stool is watery. I guarantee it. Try it sometime. It's hot here. You lose a lot of water, but try drink a lot of water. If you cut it down, the diarrhea goes away. This was not a baya of autism. This was just because of how they drink. So it could be something that's not there. It could be because the child was going to improve anyway. In autism, the average age when children start to speak, if they're late talkers, is about 3 years old. So it's shalosh shanim. Shlosha shanim, shalosh shanim. They start with echolalia, repeating what other people say, and then involves spontaneous silence. So if I put you on treatment at 2 years, 364 days, and in the next month you start getting better and you start to talk, you may have started to talk then anyway. It's not the CAM that did it. It could be a placebo effect. You think it would happen. We did a study looking at vitamins in autism, vitamin B6 and magnesium. We did the vitamin, we did placebo, as you said before, the sugar pill. You didn't think I understood you. And 50%, half the families told us that the children's behavior improved with the sugar pill, with the placebo. In fact, the placebo worked better than the vitamin. Just to point that out to you. Or it may be, I call it the story, The Emperor's New Clothes. If you don't know what it is, look it up on the internet. It's a wonderful story. But the bottom line is that if you believe and you want something to happen, whatever you think is supposed to happen, you may actually see it happening when it doesn't happen at all. In The Emperor's New Clothes, he didn't have clothes on. He was naked. But everyone told him that because they thought that's what he wanted to hear. Until a little boy yelled out, "But he's naked." At which point it all changed. So these are all things we have to consider when you're doing a treatment with CAM. It might be real, it might not be. And there may be a whole group of conditions where you might see improvements. I want to talk a little about nutritional deficiencies. When we put children on extra vitamins, it may not be extra vitamins, they may not have enough vitamins. If we know that the research has shown us that some children with autism, because they don't eat well, they may have deficiencies of certain vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin B12. They may not have enough protein intake, especially if you're on things like the gluten and casein-free diet. And therefore your protein levels may drop, and if you actually sample the blood, you find low levels of amino acids. We have all these things going on, and these conditions may happen. Here's a picture of a child who basically developed, in this case, developed scurvy from a vitamin C deficiency, bleeding in the gums. Do I have a pointer? Yes. Oh. Bleeding in the gums, easy bruising on the skin. I've seen this. It was simple to diagnose. I walked in the room. I took a history. Right? And that's what the child had. Here's another one, a story. This is a very interesting story. This child only ate fried potatoes. Zahu, fried potatoes and rice balls, neither of which had vitamin A, developed vitamin A deficiency. Another child developed vitamin B12 eye problems with the eyes because of a very restricted diet. If I give this child vitamin B12 shots, it doesn't fix the autism, it fixes the vitamin problem. That's all it does. So when you look at treatments, people talk, and I'm not going to go through all the details. People talk about things such as vitamin B6 magnesium, dimethylglycine, DMG, or TMG, trimethylglycine, vitamin B12 shots, tryptophan, D-glycycloserine, carnosine, oxytocin, polyunsaturated fatty acids, PUFAs, we call those. Polyunsaturated fatty acids are fish oil. I have a very important rule about fish oil. Fish oil is definitely good for fish. Guaranteed. Very good for fish. It's also part of an important diet for us, but whether it leads to major changes in children's functioning depends on the condition. People also talk about treatments that help the bowel, the gastrointestinal system, the bowel. Anti-yeast, I'll talk about some of these, you can read these, I'll talk about them in a little bit. What I won't talk about is some of these others like food allergies, viral infection. People claim that children with autism have a virus infection that is silent. It's called stealth virus. You don't know it's there, but if I put you on treatment, I can make it go away. I guarantee I can make it go away. Especially if you can't detect it until it's there. You think I'm joking? Go look it up. It truly exists. People do these treatments. They get put on acyclovir, they put on ganciclovir, they put on other viral therapies for this. It's very dangerous. Vitamin B6, magnesium, there were initial reports that it might work. Reports from our group, which is Finley et al., as well as Tolbert. There are issues regarding the treatment. The nice thing about vitamin B6 is if you do it for 2 to 3 months and you do it within the range that people recommend, you can't get hurt. Too much vitamin B6 can cause nerve damage. We must be careful. Too much magnesium can make you weak and give you diarrhea. That's also not good. So these treatments don't necessarily do what they claim it does. As far as I know, I've not had any family in the thousands of children that I have seen come in and tell me their child got better with vitamin B6 magnesium, but this is one of the treatments that can't hurt. DMG, no study has been done that shows that it helps. There's a claim that it enhances the immune system in rats. Therefore, if a mother rat comes in with her baby rat and asks about the use of DMG, it's good for rats. Has anyone had a rat come in? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? That you can't always take from the animal and apply it to the human. It's not always direct. We don't have this information from humans. People claim that it might help seizures, they claim it might improve eye contact. It's actually been studied, very nice study by Bowman and Richmond. They couldn't find an effect. The people who claim that it works state that they had research coming out of, think of Korea. I've never seen the research. It's been over 10 years since I've been hearing these claims. I always worry about it. But it can't hurt except the wallet. That's all it can hurt. People want to try it. These are the dosings that are recommended. Vitamin B12 shots, I've already mentioned. As far as I know, it does not work. Vitamin B12 is important for brain development in the mother, not after the child was born. In the mother. You can't give shots afterwards and fix that situation. Unless there's some nutrition problem, unless their diet is missing vitamin B12 because they don't eat a lot of meats. If they have a diet with no meats, they can develop B12 problems. and you can actually find that by measuring blood levels of certain amino acids. D-cycloserine, probably no one's heard about that, but there actually is some research suggesting that it might help. Carnosine, the same thing. These again are treatments that can't hurt you if you do it for a short time, 2 to 3 months, but there's no guarantee it's going to make a major difference. A paper just came out about N-acetylcysteine, claiming that maybe it has an antioxidant effect, maybe it has an effect on certain chemicals in the brain, the glutamate system, which is chemicals that help nerves talk to each other. Interesting research. It can't hurt, may not be able to help. This was an open label study. The problem with what's called an open label study is everyone knows what everyone's getting, so that there can be a bias. Got it. There can be a bias that occurs in that situation. One that is very interesting is oxytocin. Oxytocin is the hormone that is made in the body that in part helps with socialization. If you squirt oxytocin up the nose, it's been reported for autism that we see some improvements in children. Children that I see in my area get oxytocin given transdermal. It's a cream that's put on the skin, goes through the skin and into the body. What's the problem there? Does anyone know what the problem is? Who has ever had a baby in this room? You probably were given Pitocin during the delivery process, which is oxytocin. Were you socially very good during the labor? I guess not. No. Because it doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. So if I put it in the blood, it doesn't go to the brain. So you're wasting your money. We're waiting for more, and also it only lasts for a very short time. Very, very short. We're waiting for medicines that they're going to develop to see if they can work on those areas of the brain that might help. That's what we're waiting for on that. Anti-yeast therapy, the bottom line is no effect. As far as we know, the claims don't work because the theory or the hypothesis, the idea does not make sense. Yeast does not make toxin that causes autism. The gluten and casein-free diet. The gluten and casein-free diet is good if you have gluten problems and you have gluten sensitivity. If you have milk problems, so for instance, you may have an allergy to milk. I have lactose intolerance, the sugar in milk. You can't break down and it makes you not feel good. If I take that out of your diet, you feel better. But as far as we know, the gluten and casein-free diet and research that's been done has not fixed the children, and there are problems. The gluten and casein-free diet may not have enough protein in it for the average day. It can be lacking in certain vitamins. I'm not going to talk about antioxidants. Neuroinflammation. There's one idea about autism that there is inflammation. Inflammation. Delectate in the brain. The problem we have is we do not understand, is the delectate in the brain good or bad for the brain? We don't know. It could be something good. It could be the brain reacting to some problem. And if you stop the delectate, you might actually make the autism worse. But people are giving children anti-inflammatory medications to get rid of the delectate without understanding why the delectate is there. That is not good medicine. Chelation therapy, heavy metal poisoning. The claim is made that autism is caused by too much mercury or lead or arsenic or aluminum or chromium, sometimes tin, in the brain. And if we take all those bad things out of the body, it means we're going to get them out of the brain, it's going to make things better. The problem, for instance, in lead poisoning, the research tells us that taking the lead out really doesn't make the learning that much better. It just doesn't let you get any worse. The other problem, autism does not look like those conditions. So we're treating something that doesn't exist. I won't get into some of the particulars about that. I think this is my last one. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy. Are you folks familiar with this? Yes? Well, I'll tell you, for the people who may not know, we put the children in a chamber, in a space, where the oxygen level is higher than normal, and the air pressure is higher than normal. And the idea being that this improves the delivery of oxygen to the brain, it improves the brain's circulation, and it decreases delekat. I'll use delekat, because I have that. What's the problem? Who says autism is a disorder of lack of oxygen to the brain? Who says autism is a disorder where there's no good circulation to the brain? There's no good data telling us that that really exists. And obviously, if we do these treatments, the only one who's guaranteed to do well with these treatments is the person who's charging for them. HaKesem, the person who gets the kesem. Open label study, they claim an improvement, there was no control. Another open label study, maybe there was an improvement. Rosignol's 2009 paper, all I can tell you is we wrote a letter to the editor. It was not published in a great medical journal. We wrote a letter to the editor because there were serious problems with the statistics, how the data was analyzed. They basically played a lot of games with the numbers until they got the numbers they wanted. Why do we know this? Because, hold on, two studies that were done afterwards could not confirm what the first study had shown. And the reason it couldn't show, because these showed no benefit. Can it hurt you to have hyperbaric oxygen? It might hurt your ears. One child caught fire, but that's very rare. I wouldn't say that that's a problem because someone did something wrong there. It can hurt you, but it may take away from things that the child needs. So, in conclusion, CAM is frequently used by families. Treatments, there's nothing wrong with trying the treatments if you want to explore it, as long as you're aware of possible side effects, the costs, and that it doesn't distract from giving the child other therapies that have been proven to work. Families should always ask questions. HaMishpacha, HaHorim should ask questions. When someone says, it's going to fix the problem, ask, show me the proof. Show me the money. That kind of an idea. Information from reliable sources. If you don't understand the articles, find someone who can translate the medical words to you into regular, and I would say into English, for you it would be into Hebrew, that you can understand. If you're going to do a study, the study should have a start, a finish, and should basically know what it's measuring. People should remain open-minded. For the professionals, professionals should know about these complementary treatments. They should know about the benefits. They should know about the risks. They should be able to educate families on how to analyze the information appropriately. You should not just say, don't do it, it's garbage. I would say it in English, it's bad stuff, it's bad things. Just said, we should be professional about it as professionals. And we should listen to the families and understand why they're doing what they're doing. Thank you very much.